So today we have something kind of fun for you guys. We have Camden and Ryan here, which are some of the local groms here from Boise. And I thought it was really cool because Ryan reached out to me and asked essentially if he could have a conversation about how to make a career out of the industry and, you know, making biking your life. And like, I like doing these type of conversations, but I also thought it'd be kind of cool to share it publicly for any other kids that might want to know the same things. And we invited Camden as well. Camden's a super ripper from the area in Boise. So yeah, I just thought it'd be kind of fun. It'll be more of an informal conversation. Over the years, I've done a lot of different avenues of the industry, you know, from racing to product development and then YouTube and Instagram, all those different things. So hopefully we can share a few things that'll help you guys and make it a little easier for you to accomplish your goals.
Yeah.
And then we got April over there in the corner. And so she's going to be producing it. And we also have the two dads here in the background. So they might hop in and ask some questions if they pop up, if they can think of anything. But yeah, the goal of this one is literally just you can ask any questions you want about the industry or how to make it happen. And then hopefully other kids can listen to this too and just learn something, or even adults that want to do it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. You want to introduce your guys' self a little bit?
Here you go.
Yeah. So my name's Camden Costa. I'm 16 and I obviously live in Boise. I kind of just ride whatever, downhill, slope style. Like I kind of just do it all. So yeah.
Yeah. Been doing 360s and backflips lately too, huh?
Yeah. I just started getting backflips because it's nice to have like an airbag set up every other week.
Yeah. That's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm 14, and I pretty much do the same thing as him, just ride everything and try to just do anything I can with bikes. So
yeah. What about bikes like hooked you guys?
For me, I enjoyed team sports when I was younger, but I kind of got my first mountain bike and I wasn't too into it. But once Boise Bike Park opened up and I started doing the jumps, I kind of really enjoyed the progression and riding with friends and meeting all the people because I feel like everyone's just really nice in the community. So yeah, that's what kind of hooked me after
cool.
like my first year of riding.
yeah, I was on just like a little hardtail, and I was riding around my neighborhood and found some kids that had a ramp in their driveway. And so we were just shredding around on that. And then they took me to Eagle Bike Park, and then that's kind of when I found out that I really like it.
Yeah,
So
just sending it.
yeah, just trying to hit jumps and just go fast.
That's cool. Yeah, it stokes me out to see you guys out there riding because it just brings it back to how much fun it is when you're younger. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I remember those same days where you just kind of fall in love with it and it's all you think about. It's all you want to do. And, you know, you just want to make it part of your life as well.
Yeah.
Especially because it's an expensive sport and being able to get sponsorship even helps from that standpoint of just doing
Yeah.
it as a hobby because you guys break a lot of stuff probably.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just super satisfying. Like when you get the progression you've been working on it for so long, it's just so satisfying. I feel like I never really found that in team sports. Like I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like as satisfying, I feel like.
Yeah. No, it's been crazy to watch your guys' progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you have any questions, I know you came in with some questions that you had in mind too.
Yeah.
So just feel free, but anything I can share, I'm open.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, how you started and how you found your passion.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering if you could kind of share that, like how you got into the sport and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of similar to you guys. I was actually playing football, and so it's team sport, and I really enjoyed it. But then one year in high school, sophomore year, so I was 15, we kind of had a bad coach or a coach that I didn't really get along with, and I just kind of lost the love for it, going to practice every day. And also at that same time, my mom was going through a lot, and when I was on my bike, I could kind of be away, whereas like football practice was from 3 p.m. to 6, and then I had to go home. And so the bike just gave me the freedom to get out and do like whatever I needed to do to kind of clear my head. And then I started getting a little bit of recognition for it, probably like you guys do as well, where it's like people see that you're getting better and they're stoked on it. It makes you stoked on getting better and you just want to keep going. And yeah, it just kind of started this kind of snowball rolling down the hill of momentum, and it just kept picking up steam. And we didn't have much money growing up. And so for me, it was basically, how do I make this happen? As far as like, I want to ride bikes. I want to have nice bikes. I want to do cool stuff, but it's expensive. I can't afford it. I can't afford to get to the races. How do I make this happen? And at that time, social media wasn't really a big thing yet. And so it was really racing was how you made a name. And so that's why I just dove into racing and kind of went full blast on that. If I was in your guys' shoes now, it's kind of different with social media because you don't have to necessarily be like the best racer to get a following and start to build a career out of it.
Yeah.
But I do think what's cool about racing that's lacking from social media is that with racing, it's like a lot of camaraderie where everyone is coming together on the weekends and you see the same people over and over again. And with social media stuff now, it's like you have a lot of internet friends and everyone's kind of spread out everywhere, but you kind of connect online. But it's not the same thing where you're like traveling circus, you know, every weekend you're all hanging out together and bonding. And so I think that's one thing that's made it a little more difficult now, I feel like, to get sponsorship, because when I was racing, you kind of kept seeing the same faces. And then, you know, the guy who's a Shimano marketing manager, I would just go ride with him at the races. And then he kept seeing me get better and better and better. And then one weekend I broke my frame and I just duct taped it together and still raced that day. And he was laughing. He's like, dude, if you get a top 10, I'll give you a group set, you know, for Shimano. And I'm like, all right, I got a goal. So then I got 10th and then he gave me a group set. And that was like, I think 11 years ago. And I've been riding for them ever since. So it's like those kind of little things. It's a little harder to have those interactions now.
Yeah.
But you have the audience and reach of the online social media. So it's kind of cool too.
Yeah. It's less of seeing the same face, more just kind of reaching out to people instead of actually seeing them face to face.
For sure.
Just email and stuff.
Yeah. And I think I was kind of thinking about this last night, but it almost seems like there's 4 main pathways that people become an athlete or kind of make a career out of this. One of them is like their family members did it and were successful. So they have it in the family. Number 2, there's people that like their family were hobbyists and they enjoyed it. And then they kind of got the kids into the sport and it grew from there. Number 3, the family is not interested, but they're still supportive. And so it's like, I don't ride or anything, but I think it's cool that the kids do and I want to support them. And then number 4 is like family's not necessarily supportive. The family doesn't have any history in it. And then the kid just like makes it happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. You know, both your dads are here. It's super supportive. I think you guys have such a good potential and platform to make this happen. And yeah, if you have any questions on like how to make it happen or to get that first step, because I know we were talking about YouTube stuff a bit and yeah, anything.
Yeah.
I do think that's like really cool, like back then how it kind of revolved around racing, because I feel like that is understandable because it's more like special. I feel like it, as a company, I'd think that like someone reaching out over like email would be a little bit different than like seeing them in person, having a conversation. So I definitely think that's like a harder aspect of it now. But I also think once you have a big social media following, I feel like companies will see you. And if you do travel, I feel like you could meet them in person. But yeah, I had a question, like when did you start kind of getting recognition? Like what year when you started riding?
Yeah, so when I was 16, that would be 2008, I believe. And so then I started riding and racing, and I kind of had success pretty early on. Like by the age of 17, I was winning a bunch of junior expert downhill races. And so I started to get recognition right when I was like at the end of 17 years old, turning 18. But again, that was, it was kind of interesting because that was also from a connection. So one of our guys that he went to Chico State, and I'm from Chico, California. And the Chico State team was the people I always rode with. One of those guys went and he started working for Specialized. And once he started working for Specialized, he put in a good word. And then they gave me a frame. So I got like a demo frame and a P frame, like a dirt jump frame. And that was my first sponsor. And so that was really cool because it was like it was just product, which is still awesome, but it got me so fired up and motivated. And I saw like, oh, I can do this. And after that, I started reaching out to companies. And I actually was working at a bike shop at the time too. And I went down the whole list of all the vendors that we deal with. And I just called them and was like, call, hey, are you guys sponsoring anyone? And they'd either say yes or no. And then I'd say, all right, can I get your email? And it was funny because one of the people I called was Sadie at Deity. And so I called Deity and like, hey, do you guys sponsor anybody? They're like, sure, send us an email. And I did. And they gave me some product as well. And that started a really long relationship with them too.
Yeah.
So I think going back to your point, like sending an email, it's definitely less formal. But if you're one of the kids that actually is like practicing email composition and you do it in a well thought out way and you're trying to share, this is my goal, I care about this so much, here's my passion, here's the projects I've done, here's how I can be a good ambassador. I think companies are way more willing now to like kind of flow kids product and get things rolling. But yeah, I just think it's interesting. A lot of people, like one of my friends, Lauren Gregg, she was the team manager for Fuji bikes for a little bit. And she said that kids would send her resumes, like race resumes on Snapchat. And it just disappears after 15 seconds. And so she'd have to like, respond and say, hey, email it to me. And then they didn't know how to operate email. And then they just send her an image. So it's like that kid's probably not going to get sponsored unless they're just unbelievably successful,
Yeah.
So I think just even basic English writing classes and stuff, or like email composition is so important. And what we do a lot is bi-weekly or monthly emails. So like once a month or every 2 weeks, just send out an email to all the sponsors we do work with and say, hey, here's what we've been doing. You know, here's some of the data or statistics on how it went. Here's what our goals are for the next month. Here's what we could have done better. Here's what we feel like we did good. And we just do an update. And then the person who's working and they're overwhelmed. They have all the other problems of the company. Everything's going on. Sometimes they don't have time to keep up with what you're doing. And so if you can just send them an email, here's what I did, here's what I'm hoping to do, then they get super happy. And it just makes their job easier. And then they can come to their boss and say, oh, like Ryan's a really good asset. We love having him. Let's do it again next year. So that's kind of how you build. And one thing that one of my mentors was a guy named Mark Weir. And he actually helped me a lot with this idea of you get in, you like open the door with the company for product only. And so then you say, okay, I'm going to ride free for product only. I'm going to do a really good job. Kind of like what you're doing with Ninja probably right now with ramps. All right, I want to do a good job for you. I want to show you how to market this or how I can market this. Next year, I want to try to do some incentives where if I can sell X amount of ramps through my affiliate link, then I want to get like $100 per ramp. And you do that. And it's like, I'm going to try to sell 10 ramps for $1,000 next year.
Yeah.
And so then that's like first year, just product. Second year, you hit your incentive of 10 ramps. You get $100 kickback. That's $1,000. And then your third year, I want $1,000 base salary and I want $150 per ramp. And then you just kind of keep building.
Yeah.
So that way you can kind of slowly work your way up with companies. And over time, it adds up. Like when I started riding for Smith back in the day, I started product only. I had a bunch of incentives. The second year, I was making $2,000 a year. Then the next year, I was making $4,000 a year. And then I'm making $6,000 a year. And so it's like, you kind of work your way up. And if you have 10 sponsors that pay you $6,000 a year, that's a living wage. So you can make your career out of it. And I think a lot of times kids feel like they have to have the one sponsor that is like the factory team, everything all, like I get paid just from Trek or just from these companies. So does that make sense at all?
Yeah, that does. It helps a lot. I have a question kind of about social media. What year did you kind of like get social media, and what social media has influenced your career the most or helped the most?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So 2013 is when I started my first Instagram account. And I think Instagram started maybe 2011 or 12, but it wasn't really big till probably 2013, 14. And I feel like back then Instagram was huge for just sharing updates. And it kind of made it really easy because the way the algorithm worked is if you followed somebody, you saw all their stuff. And now it's kind of like a lot of suggested feed. And sometimes you'll post something and it gets a lot of viewership. Sometimes you post it, it gets none. So I feel like Instagram was huge. But I will say that YouTube has been the biggest as far as like creating relationships and having people actually know who you are and kind of follow and care about what you're doing or how you can, like, basically with Instagram, it's hard to provide value to somebody else. With YouTube, it's a lot easier to provide value. And when you provide value to somebody else, then they feel like appreciative of that value. So, if we do a video of like how to jump better, and someone takes that video and they learn, and even if it gets 1% better, they're like, that's awesome. I appreciate what you did for me. Versus on Instagram, like sharing a photo of my bike. It's cool and people can see it and be like, oh, that's rad, but it doesn't really give them a whole lot, except for maybe some inspiration, in my opinion. But yeah, I would say that if you think of like Instagram and TikTok as a really good way to build awareness of who you are, and then like YouTube and these other ones of like actually converting that awareness into people that are true fans or follow you, I think that's really important because it gives them a chance to actually know your personality. Because there's so many people that are good at riding bikes, it's hard to stand out,
Yeah, that's understandable. I feel like when you get on social media, you go on Reels and there's just floods of people who are like really talented and whatnot. So I feel like there's definitely an aspect where you have to like differentiate yourself from others.
For sure. And a lot of that, I mean, the coolest thing about you is that you're you. Like, you are unique. And same with you as well. Like, you're unique. And so if you can kind of show who you are and show why you are unique and what makes you you, then that's really key. And I think that for me, I'm really glad that I did the racing thing coming up because you made a lot of connections and learned a lot about bike development, learned a lot from all the companies, made a lot of great friends. But now I see so many people that are just like getting into YouTube that didn't have the race background or anything, and they're starting slow and kind of building out what they can do as far as like, here's little product reviews, or here's, bike hacks, or here's little tech tips or how-tos. And they start giving back to the audience, and then it just starts building and building. And I don't know, I see a lot of guys that are kind of making a career out of it that way, and girls.
Yeah. I was just wondering, how do you stand out from the rest of the competition with social media, and there's so many people doing a lot of the same stuff? How do you stand out?
In what way? Like in as far as getting more viewership, or as far as like making a bigger impact? Because those can be kind of two different things, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's true.
one thing, so another guy who's like an old World Cup racer, really smart dude, Eric Carter. One time we were at a marketing meeting and he raised his hand and he's like, "Excuse me, how many likes equal a sale?" You know? And everyone's like, you know, I don't know how to answer that, because it could be one like from one person who's a true fan. That could be one sale. Or you could get 1 million likes from 12-year-old kids all around the world that don't buy anything, but you're still creating awareness both ways. So I think to make an impact, the way that we've tried to go about it is like, again, preaching that value add, like trying to give value to somebody. And then as far as standing out and trying to get more awareness, I think Normal Mountain Biker has done a really good job. If you guys follow him, he's our friend Sebastian.
Yeah.
And he has done a really good job because he just shows his personality, and he kind of has like the mullet and the crazy, you know, crazy style and all that. And he just like leans into it, and he's not afraid of being himself. And I think sometimes there's a lot of people that are afraid of kind of being unique, because then you're up for criticism. Because I know that he has to deal with some criticism as well.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're getting criticized because you are unique, but you're also building an audience because you are unique. So I don't know. It's tough though.
Yeah.
What do you, I mean, what are your thoughts? How do you try to stand out?
Well, I just try to make edits that are more unique. So, but I do want to try to get more into the YouTube side of things with talking and kind of building an audience and a relationship with my audience, more than just the 10-second edits on Instagram that just like and scroll kind of thing. I just want to build more of an audience and kind of show the products that I'm trying to rep kind of thing.
What do you like watching the most? Like, what's your favorite content to consume?
I like to watch the edits, but I also like to watch like your guys' videos and like Burn Peak. I like to watch reviews and how-tos kind of thing. So I want to get into that. It's just kind of hard. So I was wondering like how to get into that kind of thing. Also.
Yeah. Well, have you ever heard of there's a tech YouTuber, his name's MKBHD. It's Marquez Brownlee. He's like one of the biggest YouTubers for like iPhones and computers and all that stuff.
I might have heard of him. I don't think I've ever watched him.
I don't think I have either.
Okay. He's a good one to watch, because there's a lot of kind of YouTube videos about his story. And when he was like 13 or 14 years old, he just had his webcam on his laptop, and he just started reviewing phones and like keyboards and stuff he had in his house.
Yeah.
And he started doing that at 14, and now he's, you know, like 100 million subscribers, this huge YouTuber. They have an amazing facility, amazing studio. Now he's doing car reviews and everything. And he just started. And it's like, just start and do what you can. Like whatever bike you're on now, just make a review for it, and you'll learn and try to get better at it.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's tough is I see a lot of times with reviews or bike checks, people just say, "Here's my bike, and it has this, 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 this on it."
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's cool, but like, why do you like that product? Why do you run the bar that you do? Why do you run the grip that you do? That kind of stuff makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
And even for you, like, it's kind of cool watching you guys do backflips, 360s and stuff now. It's like, what has there been anything bike setup wise that helped you with that, or made you feel more confident with that, and things that you learned, like running higher tire pressure or stuff like that, you know? Anything that can help speed up a kid's or another person's learning process is really cool.
Yeah. I feel like I definitely need to like show myself and my personality more, because I feel like all there is of me is like, if you don't know me in person, there's just like the Instagram edits of me and some TikToks. That's just me riding with the helmet on. So like most people who don't know me in person have like never heard my voice, never even seen what I look like. So I feel like I want to get like more into YouTube and whatnot, and like show myself more and like talk about things that have helped me and stuff.
I know it's funny when you guys sat down, you're like, "Oh, it's cringy hearing my voice." Yeah. It's like all those little things. Everyone feels the same way when you start. I mean, April can tell you full on, when we started doing YouTube stuff, she is like, would freeze up in the camera and be like, "I don't know what to say or what to do." And you just practice. It's just like anything, you know. How'd you get better at riding a bike? You do it all the time. Like I see you guys, you know, even when the conditions aren't right, and you're like out in the snow making a pump track, like you're still doing it. So there's been a lot of videos that we've made where I've actually filmed the whole video, edited it, watched it, and like, this sucks, and just I don't post it. And that's just practice, you know. So we do that a lot. I mean, we filmed several videos, even just last year, where we tried to do the whole thing, spend a couple hours filming, then you get done, you're like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
I've had multiple videos that I've tried to make, and I just didn't get enough clips or videos, and I'm just like, dang it. And then I just throw that whole edit away kind of thing.
Yeah. It's really helpful to kind of keep track of what maybe you could be doing better on them. And sometimes what I did when I was starting to do YouTube and trying to learn it is I would make a video edit and then I'd watch it and try to write down like, here's what I think I can do better next time. And even just if it's 5 little items, like, oh, the wind audio is really bad. I wish it wasn't so windy. I wish it was a little bit better lighting or things like that. You kind of try to think about that next time.
Yeah.
But I don't know, you guys are doing so good too. It's like, I think that you should be really proud of where you're at, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun for us to watch you guys and both of you. It's just cool to see the growth and progression.
Yeah.
But I think you both have the potential to make this happen if you want.
Yeah. And like, how do you reach out to sponsors with like when you're at races? Like, how do you approach people in person?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
That's a good
question. Because I'm really
question.
used to email. So, and I go to the races, like, I feel kind of like tense when I go up to people in person to try to be like, hey, I want to get a sponsor kind of thing. Like, how do you approach them?
Okay, that's a good question. So there used to be an event called Interbike, and that was like a trade show. Kind of like Sea Otter is almost a trade show now. It's like a race, but trade show too. What I would always do is I would have like a little packet, or even you could even just have like a digital packet, like a PDF of here's what I want to do. Here's who I am. Here's like some photos of me of the last year, and just say, hey, can I get a business card from you? And that way you're not asking them for anything right now. Just say like, hey, my name's Ryan. I was curious if I could get a business card because I want to send you an email next week. And I would love to ride for you guys. And then that way, like, they can either say yes or no, or they can just give you a card and then deal with it later. But at least they made that connection of, all right, Ryan's this kid. He wants to ride for us. He was at the event. He was nice. He shook my hand. He looked me in the eyes. Like, that's super key. So if you're ever scared and you don't want to have the full conversation, just walk up and say, hey, is it okay if I grab a business card? Because I'd love to send you guys an email. And
Yeah, totally.
it makes it way easier for sure.
Yeah, because at like Bootleg, there's like all the tents and sponsors, and like there was a Fazari tent there, and it's just kind of hard to just walk up there and kind of talk to those people and just even build a connection kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they're all doing their own thing, and you don't want to kind of interrupt them. So I think that's probably why I'm kind of scared to do that.
Yeah, it's probably because you're considerate too. Because, you know, like when they're busy and they're stressed and there's tons of people around, and then you're like, hey, I want to get free stuff from you. Then they're like, oh, this is not the right time, dude.
Yeah.
So that's why I always just say, you know, if you see something going on too at the booth, like if someone knocks over a trash can and it falls over, like just walk up and pick it up and help them out a little bit. Like essentially all the people that are at those booths, they're just normal people too.
Yeah.
And they were just like you guys, where they love mountain biking. They wanted to make it part of their life. So they can relate. And a lot of them just chose the working path, but they see what you guys are doing too, and they admire it a lot. So, I mean, if I was at a booth and a kid walked up and said, hey, I'd love to ride for you guys. Can I get a business card or a contact? Then I'd be like, for sure. As soon as you send me email, you're good, you know?
Yeah.
Another thing I've done in the past is with Skydio, you know, like the drone company.
Yeah.
So they were at an event called Outer Bike, and they had the drone set up, and I just asked them, is it okay if I take this for a little bit and film with it? And I just want to make a video. And so I took it and I did a little video and posted it on YouTube and sent it to the guys that were there. And they were super stoked. And like the next week they sent us drones and got us all hooked up. And they're like, this is so rad, because we kind of did it without really asking for anything from them. And that's really rare, where it's not like, hey, I want you to give me a drone and I want you to do this. I want you to do this. It's like, hey, I want to make a video for you guys and just build a relationship. And then they saw that as like, oh, that's really cool. Let's help them out. And so they've done a lot of cool things with us the last few years.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, let's just say you were gonna reach out to like a company like direct to consumer, where you're not gonna like ever find them at events. What would be like your first step? What would you recommend doing to reach out to them?
Yeah. So what's kind of funny is a lot of the websites, they actually do have like online, they have the little like sponsorship link or marketing link. Those do work sometimes. Like I've had some good sponsors come from just clicking that link and starting a conversation. So don't be afraid to look on their website, see if they have a marketing or sponsorship thing, send them an email. And like I said, if you can just spend like a day or two working on like a PowerPoint presentation or a PDF with who are you? A photo of your face.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. Here's my goals. Here's what I have done. Here's some stats on my Instagram and stuff. Send them that and just say, this is what I'm hoping to get. Like if, for example, you're working with a company that does clothing, like I would love to get 3 sets of clothing or 4 sets of clothing for the year. And then they have a realistic expectation. Because sometimes what's hard is people say, will you sponsor me? It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like if you went to Fazari and said, can you sponsor me? They're like, with what? Like, what? How many bikes do you want? How much money are you asking for? Like, what's going on? So it's nice to just say, I'm trying to do these events. I would love to have a trail bike and enduro bike. I would love to race on your guys' trail bike and enduro bike. Is there any way we could work out a deal? And then that gives them a chance. And sometimes companies even let you borrow something for a year and then send it back to them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's a good way to build a relationship too. Or for like a review, they could send you a bike, you review it and then send it back. And you're just building that relationship. So
yeah. What do you do if you reach out to a company and they don't respond and you follow up and they still don't respond? Do you just wait another year and try again next year? Or do you try to maybe find a different company in that thing next year? Or like, how do you deal with that?
A good example of this is the company MRP.
Yeah.
So when I was really young, didn't have a lot of attention yet. That when I kind of like went through the bike shop vendor list and called everyone, I got an email for MRP and I just kept sending them an email once a week. And eventually they responded and said, all right, fine. Like here's 2 guides. Just stop emailing me, please. So it's kind of one of those things where like, yeah, you don't want to burn a bridge by just every day, like sending it. But if you follow up like every week or 2 and just say, hey, I just would love to hear from you. Please, like a yes or no would be great because then I could make a decision. Because sometimes a no is actually the best thing a company can give you because then you realize like, all right, that's not going to work out. I'll focus my energy somewhere else. Yeah. And when you're kind of left in limbo, that can be really tough.
Yeah.
So I always tell companies like, don't be afraid to say no. Like, here's what we're asking for. You can say no. It's totally fine. If it works out, that'd be great. But just let us know because then we can change things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because with one of the companies that I reached out to, I gave them an email around the same time I reached out to everyone else. And then they didn't respond for months. And I finally did a follow-up. And then they still haven't talked back or like responded. So I was just like, okay, what do I do now? Do I just wait for them to respond or just...
Are you sending it to a person or to like a generic link?
My dad gave me the email for it, so I'm not exactly sure where he found it. It was for Ride Concepts.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure if it was just a link or where he found the sponsorship thing, but it was just like a Ride Concepts sponsorship email, pretty much.
One thing you could do in that situation is if you know anyone else who might, like even on social media, if you know somebody who does ride for them, then you could just say, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with so-and-so. Can you just confirm that this is the right email?
Yeah.
And I've had that happen before too, where people send me that email or send another one. They're like, oh, actually that guy just left. Here's who you should talk to now. Because, that even happened to us recently with a sponsor we've been working with for a long time with P&W Components.
Oh, yeah.
They had the lady that we were dealing with, she left, and then there wasn't like a good changeover of like, this lady just left. And so we kind of got left in limbo for a bit. And finally I just talked to the owner and was like, hey, is everything okay? They're like, oh yeah, shoot, sorry, we totally missed the boat on that. Like, we're good. But things like that happen sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
I had a question about like a bike sponsor or like a frame sponsor. Does the like brand of bike heavily influence whether you'll get sponsored or not? Like, let's say I ride like Santa Cruz and then I ride like a Trek for like dirt jumper, and I reached out to Santa Cruz. Would that influence their decision if they looked at my Instagram and saw me riding like a Trek?
No, I don't think it should. Because ideally, what you're trying to say with the sponsorship is that I really like your company. I would love to ride for your company. And these are the bikes that I would love to represent. If you don't have that yet, like they can't get mad at you. Yeah. And I've never ridden for a brand first and then really got sponsored from them as far as like a big company. Like it's always, we're on a different brand. So say, for example, I was riding for Marin and then like Niner reached out and was like, hey, we want to work with you. So it's like they weren't upset that I was on Marin, right? They just wanted us to represent them. So Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that too much.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes things that are really interesting is like if a company, for example, with Niner, they're really close with Schwalbe and Stans. And so our Schwalbe sponsorship kind of got kicked off by our relationship with Niner because Niner specs Schwalbe on a lot of the brand, like on a lot of their bikes. And so when we signed with Niner, then it kind of kicked open the door with Schwalbe as well because they work together. And I know there's some other companies like that, like Pivot and Maxxis, they're really tight. So that was one thing. Like when we rode for SR Sun Tour and with Shimano, we were I was the first ever athlete to ride for Shimano that wasn't riding on Fox in North America. Because Shimano and Fox worked really close together. And then with SR Sun Tour, I was like the weird one on the side that like I was the first one that wasn't Fox. So that was kind of interesting too. I didn't really ever think of that dynamic before, but brands definitely do partner together a bit.
Okay. And then like what has most of your sponsorships grown off of? Did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you?
I would say 90% of it is me reaching out to them.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very, very, very rare for a company to just reach out and say, hey, we want to sponsor you.
Yeah.
Usually if they do though, those are like really great sponsors to have because someone high up in the company likes what you're doing. Because they get basically someone at the top or an owner or somebody says, hey, we want this kid, go get him. And those are great sponsors to have if it does happen. But most of the time it's like you start really small and then work your way up and kind of like what you're doing with Deity, I'm sure. You get in and then like the other day you're out there riding in front of their warehouse, you know, jumping on the Ninja ramp. Like that stuff's really cool. And I'm sure Eric and Sadie are super stoked. And then from now on, if the decision goes up the chain, they'll be like, yeah, Ryan's rad. Let's keep doing this. So, yeah.
So how do you deal with a sponsorship and you're with a sponsor for a few years and then you decide that you want to switch sponsors?
If you're ever in a relationship with a brand for a few years and then you end up changing, it can be like really messy sometimes, or it can go really clean. I think the biggest thing is just trying to make sure that you're communicating with them the whole time.
Yeah.
What happens most of the time is that you send an email, you start working with the brand, the person, like, so say Ryan sends an email to Jake, and Jake is a marketing guy at X company. Then Jake is the one who's saying, yeah, let's sponsor Ryan. Let's get this all set up. And then over time, if Jake leaves, then it kind of leaves you in limbo and you have to start with a new contact. So that's sometimes what happens when brands switch over is like the person who got you in the brand, they leave. And then sometimes you can't really get traction or footing with the new group that comes in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And those, when that happens, it's a lot easier to separate because it's not as like tight.
Yeah.
But generally, like with SR Sun Tour and Shimano, we've been riding with them for 11 years. So it's like when you have a brand, just it's good to stick with brands because then you build a lot of brand equity. And I think even with PNW, we've been riding with them since 2015 or 16. So like that's almost 8 years, and you know, you try to like keep doing that because then it just makes it easier.
Yeah. So what was the switch from DD to PNW for you? Because weren't you with DD for like most of the time before PNW? Yeah.
So that's a good example actually, because that's a relationship that I was really stoked on with Deity, and they're awesome. And then with PNW, so the guy Aaron and Emily, that's the two that started PNW. They were actually people that worked at Marin Bikes. And so I had a really good relationship with them through Marin. And then we had the really good relationship with Deity. And when Aaron and Emily split off and started PNW Components, I kind of wanted to support them as well. And they were kind of growing this new brand. And I also wanted to design a bar because there was some things I wanted to change on the bar. And so then I talked to Eric and Sadie, and then that wasn't really an option, but then we're still super close friends and everything. And it's like, all right, I'm going to do this. And they totally understood and said, if you ever need anything, come on back. So yeah, it was kind of cool. Like that was a good one where we just communicated it through really well. And it's like, here's a group of friends, here's a group of friends. And how do you, you're kind of picking between them, but really at the end of the day, it's like, you're just trying to do what you think is best for you and for the industry. And I just wanted to do like a fun handlebar. And PNW has done really well with that too, because some of the things we did with it. So it worked out, but I still love all the Deity people. But it's scary because you're like, oh, I don't want to break this relationship. Yeah. And sometimes it comes down strictly to like, you come in and say, hey, X company is offering me a couple $1,000 and you guys aren't paying me yet. It's this product. Can you match that? And sometimes they'll say, oh, we can't do that this year. And then at that point you're like, all right, well, do you understand if I end up moving companies, they usually say, yeah, for sure, go do it. We want you to succeed. So yeah, it's a lot less dramatic sometimes than it feels like it will be.
Yeah.
Have you ever like switched kind of back to a company like smoothly and like had a good relationship with them?
Yeah, that actually happened with Felt. So Felt was my first company that I rode for in 2013. It was the first company I ever got paid from. And it wasn't a lot, but they paid me like $3,500, which I was super stoked on because it helped me get to the races and travel. I loved working with them. And then at the end of that year, Marin came in, and Marin wanted to offer me, and like they kind of wanted to start a little team, and they offered me $18,000. And so it was like from $3,000 to $18,000. I talked to Felt. They were like, hey, we can't do that, but we love working with you. I went to Marin, rode for them for 3 or 4 years and had really great success. And then at the end of that term, the guy that I was working with left. So then the Felt people, like we were kind of up in the air. My contract ended, and Felt was like, hey, come back over. We can support you. And so then I rode for them for 2 more years after. So yeah, it's like if you're good at kind of communicating it through, I think the doors are usually open.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think I've seen a lot of people burn bridges where they just never send an email or nothing. And then you're just scrolling the phone and the kid finally like shows up with a new bike or new gear. And you're like, what the heck? You know?
Yeah, that's understandable.
I've actually been with sponsors, and they're on social media and they scroll and they're like, what the heck? And they look, and it's like the kid that they sponsored now is on a different bike or a different gear. And they're like, dude, they didn't even talk to me about this. And they get upset and like feels personal.
Yeah.
So I've seen that happen too. So just always communicate and just try to work it through if you can.
Yeah.
I think that's really key. And
so you were saying earlier about how to communicate like an email every couple like months or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you do that email like
the structure of it?
Yeah, the structure, yeah.
Yeah, it could even be as simple as like, you know, hey, so say you have like 4 sponsors, you compose an email and you do BCC, which is like blind copy. You don't want to do CC because then everyone sees everyone's emails and they don't want that to get out. So you do BCC, and then you say, hey everyone, comma, enter, next line, and then your main paragraph. I hope you guys have all been good. Here are some of the things I've been up to lately. I included some photos in this email. Thanks for all support. I love all the product. Here's are the plans I have for the next couple months, and I'll check back in next month. And then like sincerely Ryan or sincerely Camden. And if you just send that with some photos they can use or just check out what you're doing, they'll be stoked.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be super long. Like it could be seriously just a paragraph of like, hey everyone, here's what I've been up to. Here's a couple photos. This is what I'm doing next. And these are my plans for the year. These are my big goals. And hopefully I'm kind of like for you, I've been working on backflips. I want to get one to dirt soon. I'll send you a video as soon as I get it. And then they'll be stoked, you know?
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple. It's simple, but it's overwhelming sometimes to like get it going the first few times, you know?
Yeah. Especially if you haven't started or you've never done that before and you've been with a company for a little bit. Like how do you start that? Do you just do that structure, or do you say like, hey, from now on I'm going to be sending you guys these update emails? Yeah, just I mean in the title you could just say or subject line, you know, like hey everyone, January update or March update, and they get them from a lot of other athletes. Yeah. So they'll start to see it and they'll be stoked on it. So don't worry too much. Like if you just randomly send an email out and it says, you know, Ryan Outdoors April update, and here's what I did in April. Here's some of my biggest performing posts. Like here's 3 of my favorite posts that I made. Here's 2 videos that I really like doing, and here's what I'm doing next month. They'll be super happy. Awesome. Yeah. And that kind of also gets the marketing people really comfortable at responding to you. And so then when they have a question or like, hey, we have a new ramp coming out. All right, send Ryan an email. You know, it makes it easy to get stuff. Yeah. If you have an idea for a company and maybe you're not with that company yet, or you just got with that company, how do you kind of work into giving them that idea? Like product feedback? Yeah. Or just if you want to make like a new product that they haven't made yet, like just for any kind of company, like that can be tricky. Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of times with companies, the engineers, they spend so much time and energy working on stuff that sometimes, unless they really respect your opinion, they won't value the feedback. And so sometimes it's scary to give that feedback. But I would say on companies where it's like a different glove graphic, or
you know, like a different helmet graphic or just some soft goods or things like that that are a little easier to change over,
Yeah.
then it's really easy just to say, here's what I've been thinking of. You know, what are your thoughts on it? But I don't know, you could like say for Ninja, if you have an idea for a ramp product or something that they could make that they don't make yet, you could send them an email and just say, hey everyone, I had this idea. This is what I've been thinking of. Here's where I think it'd be awesome. Here are some of the things I think I could do with it versus what you guys already have. And like, here's a video of something similar. So I already know this is going to work. And they would be stoked on that.
Yeah.
And even if they say no, like, oh, we're not going to do that this time, at least they know that next time they come out with a new product, they'll consult with you on it. And then you kind of can build value, because there's a couple years where I wasn't racing a lot and I wasn't really doing a lot of social media. I was literally just focusing on testing. And so it's just like product development, developing suspension, developing the frames, developing tires, like just working on testing with stuff.
So how do you reach out to a company if you want to test something for them? Or do you just, if they're making a new product, you just let them reach out to you for that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a very tricky thing to navigate, I would say, with that kind of stuff. It's almost like you need to be with the company for at least a year or two before you can really start giving like valid feedback. Because a lot of times it just comes off as like, I've had some people say, you know, if you don't like what we're making, then why did you ask to ride for us? And it's like, well, that's not what I'm saying. I just feel like it could be improved in these ways. And so I definitely overstepped the bounds a few times and got in trouble. And then I tried to learn over the years, like, all right, you have to be a little bit more, like, I'm the type that's just like, I just want to make this better. Like, let's go. Why is this taking so long? And then you have to understand all the things that are going on behind the scenes you don't realize. Like, even with the bike, it usually takes 2 to 3 years to develop.
Wow.
Yeah. So like if the bike just comes out today, they started that before the pandemic.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That it's understandable for a company to kind of take offense to it, like not meaning to, but just like feel that way.
Yeah.
After spending so much time and putting so much money into like engineering something like that.
Yeah. Even like the molds, you know, for a carbon frame, like the molds can be $100,000 per frame size. And so it's like, all right, so they spent a couple $100,000 developing this. They spent years working on it. They send it to Ryan and he's like, oh, this sucks. Why did this bolt break? And, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, it hits them in the heart a bit.
Yeah.
So it's not that you shouldn't give that feedback or you shouldn't be transparent with that stuff. But I think sometimes you just have to like really understand how are they going to feel about it. Because it's like if you worked on a video for 3 months or 4 months and then it goes live and someone's like, this sucks. Why'd you even post it?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
What does it look like? Have you ever like made a specific part like to cater towards your needs, but like not release it with the company? And like how have you like marketed that to the public?
Yeah, that has happened before. A good example was kind of like the felt / Rosignol bikes. There was a felt that they were working on, a 29 or 140 mil travel bike. And I liked it, but then there were some issues where I would like bottom out all the time. So then I had them change 2 things. I had them change the derailleur hanger because the derailleur hanger kept bending a lot on that bike. It was a really soft hanger. So they made me a direct mount one. And then they changed the link to make it more progressive and sent me a custom link. And it made the bike 150 mil travel also. And with that, I got to ride that bike for quite a bit, but that never became like a public part. And so that was kind of interesting because when you're doing that, it almost feels disingenuous. Like you're not really marketing the thing that you're riding in some ways. But I think as long as you're transparent about, hey, I'm working through some things with this bike or we're kind of working on this stuff, I think people like that. Because like with Downhill World Cup, you'll see guys with testing different parts and links and things. And it doesn't make you think like Commensol sucks, right? It's just, it's kind of interesting to see how they're working on things.
I feel like it's cool. Like, I feel like as a company, they'd be like helpful and beneficial because I feel like when I see like a professional rider, like for example, testing the new V10, I thought that was like really cool and like kind of thought that it's like beneficial to see them testing a bike because it shows you like if a pro is testing it, then it's kind of going to work well.
Yeah. So. And it makes it feel like they're doing a lot of work and trying hard on it, which is cool too.
Yeah.
The biggest reason that companies don't like to share that stuff is because they don't want someone, basically what they're afraid of is if it's like September and you want to buy a GoPro and then you know that the GoPro 12 is coming out in October, it's like, are you going to wait?
Oh, yeah.
And so then, but they still have to sell all the GoPro 11s that they have in stock. So it's like they want to sell all the product they already have on the shelf, but then the new one's coming. So then they don't want to like pre-release or show someone like, oh, GoPro 12's in the works, it's coming out next month, because they don't want someone to not buy an 11 and then they have to discount or blow those out. So that's kind of the tricky thing. But I've always felt like it's cooler for the brand to show development, because then you see, oh, this new thing is in the works. It makes it seem like the brand is always working on stuff, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
So I like that versus just like you hear nothing from a brand and then new bikes is released randomly.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
it's kind of lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it can help build up hype too. And I feel like if people do really like fanboy over the company, I feel like they're still willing to sell their bike and buy the new one. But I understand that
Yeah.
point.
And I would also be bummed if I was like, for example, if there's a bike that I really wanted for years and I saved up all the money and I finally bought it, and then a week later the new one
Yeah,
came out,
that'd
I'd
be
be so bummed.
Frustrating.
Yeah. But if I like was dreaming about it and I was doing all the research, and then I saw like, oh, in 1 week or 2 weeks the new one's coming out, I would wait and then be even more stoked on the brand and like be happy to be one of the first ones to get the new bike and promote it. And so it's kind of, I don't know. It's like at the end of the day, one thing that is kind of interesting with all the sponsorship and marketing and YouTube and everything, it's all about kind of selling product, which in a way is kind of weird. You know, it makes
Yeah.
you feel like you're a salesman, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing, because you getting a kid stoked on a new bike, or getting a kid stoked on bikes, period, and then they become, you know, one of your buddies, or they're out at the trails, or they have a new friend group, or they're like what you guys did where you got into it, now it's your life.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool someone inspired that for you. And so you can be that for someone else. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not just, oh, we're trying to sell you stuff. It's trying to like grow the pie, grow all the people in the sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of at the end of the day. It's like at the end of the day, the companies really only care if by supporting you, they can sell. Like if they give you one bike, they hope that you can sell 3.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of different too, because with taxes and tax write-offs, when a company gives you a bike, that's a tax write-off for them. So then it's not like the full cost of the bike, and
Yeah.
something they can use as marketing. So they don't have to sell a ton to make up for it, you know?
Yeah. So what happens if the company gives you, say, an affiliate link, or just wants you to sell their product, and you're promoting it a lot and you don't see any results and no one's clicking on your link? Do you just try to promote that even more, or like how do you try to?
It's tough. Like, one thing that's interesting is you have to really kind of understand who your audience is. And so this is kind of funny, but there's like a Instagrammer, TikTok influencer person. I forget his name, but I think it's Bryce Hall. And he's like a young, kind of ripped dude who just does workout videos and stuff. And he's selling a drink, an energy drink that's like in a pink can. And you're like, wait, why is this dude selling like this really skinny, low calorie drink in a pink can? And it's because his audience is mostly young women. So it's like he understands his audience. He knows what's going to work with his audience. And then sometimes you'll see that in the opposite, where like a girl will sell something that is more targeted to men. And so it's kind of interesting with product. If you're pushing it, and it's not converting, you might not have the right audience to sell that product. And it just might not be the right fit, or you have to figure out how to communicate it in a different way.
Yeah.
So like if your whole audience is 14-year-old kids, and then it's like $1,000 ramp, it's like, it's going to be hard to sell to a 14-year-old kid. But if your audience is like 45-year-old parents that have a 14-year-old kid, it's a lot easier to make that happen, you know?
Yeah. So how do you know your audience? Like how can you figure that out?
The biggest way is if you have like an Instagram account with analytics, or a YouTube account, and you can look at the analytics, it'll tell you like your audience demographic. And so it'll tell you what country they're from, what language they speak, what age they are. So like, for example, for our YouTube channel, our biggest audience is like 35 to 45. And then our second biggest audience is 45 to 55. So we have a much older demographic. But then on like the Instagram, my audience is like 18 to 29. So it's kind of interesting. So something that'll work on YouTube might not work on Instagram, or vice versa.
And then would you kind of look for sponsors that, like, obviously if you have like 14 to 16-year-olds on your Instagram, like you'd kind of look for a product that's like cheaper.
Yeah, like Pit Viper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like if you had a ton of 14 to 16-year-old or 14 to 18-year-old kids that was your audience, then you could look at a company like Pit Viper or something where, you know, the glasses are $60 to $100 and the kids are stoked on it and they want it. And then if you had an affiliate link and got a kickback on the sales, then you could drive some sales that way. Or something that's like clothing. you know, or gloves. Like gloves is a really good one. If you have like a younger audience, gloves is big. Things like that are pretty cool. But then if you have a really young audience, then it's going to be a little harder for like a bike company to see a lot of conversion through you. But yeah, so it's really interesting. There's a lot that goes into it, like thought process wise. But I will say that sometimes the bike companies aren't as up to speed on the social media stuff. And so a lot of times they don't necessarily know to check into all that stuff, but they can see when it works.
Yeah.
So like if we did a video for Ninja for the ramps, and they sold like a couple $1,000s in ramps the next day. And so they were stoked because they're like, oh, that worked so well. Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, we weren't trying to sell the ramps. We were just highlighting it, and it was part of a video, and you know, the demographic liked it, and it just a really easy fit. So it didn't feel like salesy, you know?
Yeah. And if you're making a video reviewing a product and you've already seen a video reviewing the same product and you have a lot of the same feelings about the product, do you just not do the video, or do you just try to make it more unique somehow?
Yeah, I would say just take it and try to make it more unique. And even look at the other video and then write down like a couple things with the other video that you feel like they could have done better. And not in a critical way to them to be like, oh, this video sucks. But you could say like, oh, I felt like the intro was a little bit long and I didn't like the thumbnail they had. And I feel like I could have done a better job with a few of these things. Or like, you know, like they didn't mention this one point. I love how the bike jumps, and they didn't talk about how it jumps. They just talked about how it feels in the rough stuff. So like you can always make it your own, and don't be afraid to do multiple videos. Cause when we started doing tutorial videos, they've already been like how to jump, how to bunny hop, how to corner. There's already all those videos. So it's like, if we would have looked at it and said, there's no point in doing them, then we would have lost out on helping a lot of people potentially.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so many people into the sport now, like any sport you do, that like it's going to be rare that you're going to be the first one to you're going to beat everyone to like a video idea.
Yeah.
Because like there's so many big YouTubers that like right when a product comes out, no matter the cost, like $2,000 group set, they're already on it and like reviewing it. So by the time you get it like a year later, you're just going to have to figure out a way to make it unique.
Yeah, for sure. And you could even, for example, in that situation, like all the companies send out the product to all the influencers. The one thing that the influencers don't really have the ability to do is kind of like talk about the negatives super openly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all these videos are kind of the same where it's like, oh, this is so rad. I can stand on it. I can hit it against a tree. Like this,
like the SRAM.
Yeah. But it's like the younger or like smaller independent influencers, those are the ones that in the next year will say, oh, I had this issue, or this is something I learned, or it eats up chains or eats up derailleurs, or like it just, you can say things that other people really don't or can't.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, even if they aren't told like you can't say this, they want to keep getting free stuff.
Yeah.
And so then they don't want to say anything bad because they want to keep getting free stuff. So yeah, it's tough when you get to the point where you're big enough and you can just say exactly what you think and like, oh, this is not good, this is good. Then people respect that and it works. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the how-to videos, how do you get into how-to videos? Because with you, you were helping out April, so you had someone to kind of show your audience what it would look like for them. So if for me, I don't have anyone to try to help out, then how would I make a how-to video? Like, how can I get into that?
You could do a bunch of good ones. Like if you look at Seth from Burn Peak, if you look at some of his old videos, like his Seth's Bike Hacks videos, he did a couple of really cool how-tos of like how to bunny hop or how to jump or how to do this. And they were like 4 or 5 minutes long with voiceover and kind of in that way. Or you can look at where we, like, for instance, if you look up to what we've done and you want to do something similar, you could say, where have they not excelled? And like one thing we haven't excelled at is doing shorts or like the 1 minute video.
Yeah.
So you could try to take similar ideas of our content and then cut it down into 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then have it be like a shorts. So it's like there's always ways to kind of change the content a little bit, you know?
Yeah. And like with my YouTube, I'm kind of scared to get into shorts because I've kind of made it to where it's all a bit longer videos, and then all my short videos are on Instagram. Like, do you know how to do that to where I can make shorts on my YouTube channel, but make it to where it's different from my Instagram?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
What a lot of people are doing now is starting a second channel. And so that's kind of what we're doing as well. Like we have the Ride MTB channel which is our main one. And then we have like the Ride MTB Express. And the Express one's going to be for all like the short form content or even like podcasts, is things that aren't living on the main channel. It just goes onto the Shorts channel or the Express channel. And it kind of makes it easy because then you separate it, you separate the audience. One thing that does suck is that if you do it all in one, you can kind of build like a big audience, but you also dilute the audience. And like half the time you're posting content that half the audience doesn't care about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, the people that like long form content, when you post a short, they don't care about the long, or they don't care. And then when people like short form content, and you post a 10-minute how to, they're like, I don't care. So I feel the same way, but I think what YouTube is going to do soon is actually just change it and have it segmented. So you'll have two different like parts of your channel, and it'll fix that a lot.
If I'm a smaller YouTuber, because I only have like 300, almost 400 subscribers. So making a second channel, would that be kind of hard for me to do because my main channel would be already pretty small?
Yeah.
How can I grow this channel to be big enough to where I can make a shorts channel kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to, I think one thing that would be interesting for you is look into the analytics and see who your audience is right now. And then if you could see, okay, there's 400 people that follow me, and the average person is like, if your average person is between 16 and 25, you could probably start making shorts on your channel and it would just do fine. No problem. But if for some reason your average viewer is like in their 30s or older, then the shorts might not work on your channel currently.
Yeah.
So what I would say is don't be afraid to post shorts on your channel if you want to do that. But if you don't like how it feels or you don't like how it's kind of making it look, then you can pull away from it. It's no big deal. And then I would say at the level that you're at right now, the biggest thing is just trying to build momentum slowly so that you can get monetized. And then once you get monetized, then YouTube will take the videos and they promote it. And so like, it's kind of funny because it's like with YouTube, you work. And it's like, feels like nothing's happening. And then one day you get monetized and then it's just gone, like it just blows up.
Yeah.
So most people getting their first 1,000 viewers or 1,000 subscribers takes like 3 years. And then after that, the next 1,000 takes like a month.
Wow.
So it just snowballs like crazy.
Totally.
How is trends on like social media or YouTube, like how have they made you adjust your content? Like have you adjusted them or have you like stuck with one plan that's helped you the most?
I would say that when I was racing a little bit more, the trend in like 2016, 17, 18 was to do just one kind of banger clip and just maybe like come out of a corner and nose manual or, you know, like manual, nose manual, that kind of stuff. And I would post that a lot. And then, like I said, I started to get like an audience growing, but I never had someone come up to me really and be like, oh, I love your content.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Sea Otter one year, I was at like the booths and they had Aaron Gwynn and an autograph signing line, and it was like 20 people long. And then they had Seth and it was like 300 people long. And I was like, Aaron is the world champion at that time.
Yeah.
And there's only 20 people that care about meeting him. And then Seth is just like this random dude who makes videos in his garage, and he has hundreds of people. And that's when it clicked in my head, like, what is happening here? And it's basically with the longer form content, I feel like you can build a friendship with the viewer or people that are watching. And with kind of shorter form content or race results, things like that, it's more of like the viewer or audience members looking up at you. And so then you're almost afraid to approach that person.
Yeah.
Because you're like, if you saw Richie Rude walk by, you'd probably be like, you know, like you wouldn't say anything. But if you saw, you know, another YouTuber you like, you'd come up and say hi. So I think that's why we like the longer form content, is it just makes it a little bit more approachable. And that's what we're sticking with now. We don't do a ton of the short form content or Instagram stuff. It's mostly like, let's just do YouTube, focus on what we're good at, do one thing, and just kind of like focus on that. And what's kind of interesting too is that I think a lot of people focus on like, oh, I want to start making money doing videos and posts and whatnot. Most of the money comes from working with sponsors.
Yeah.
And so as long as the sponsors are seeing a return, then it kind of goes back to that thing I said with Eric Carter, where he's like, how many likes equal a sale? Even if you have 300 subscribers, but there's like 4 people in that subscriber group who will, you know, purchase a bike because they're stoked on you and they want to support you and they want to support brands that help you, that's worth it for the brands.
Yeah.
So it's like, if they see a return on it, you know, if you post a bunch of ninja content and people say, oh, I saw Ryan's video, or if they can use that video and sell ramps, like they take your video, repost it and sell a few ramps, that's totally worth it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what gets lost sometimes. Is like, you don't need 1 million views to make a living with mountain biking, you
Yeah.
could make a living with smaller views as long as you have really good partnerships with sponsors.
Yeah. And how do you gain loyal subscribers kind of thing? Like,
Yeah.
how do you get to that point where you have loyal subscribers, I guess?
I think it goes back to the whole idea of what are you giving them in return? Because you got to think about it. Like everyone's most valuable asset in life is time. That's something that we all have, and it just is constantly running out, and you can't get it back.
Yeah.
Everyone's like most valuable asset is time. So what are you giving them for spending 5 minutes watching your video?
Yeah.
Like what do they get out of it, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be knowledge. It can be a laugh. You know, like with normal mountain biker, like when someone watches his content, he makes them laugh or
Yeah.
feels connected, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Or it can be like some knowledge, or it can help them with a buying decision, or it can just be inspirational. Like, oh, that inspired me to try to learn backflips.
Yeah.
So you just have to think of like, what is this person who's watching the video? What do they get out of it? And if you can think about that, then it helps you drive better content. So just think about that. I mean, even when you're doing a review, or even like when you do the Groms of Dirt video, you know, or
Yeah.
like the shred-its,
Yeah.
just think about like, what does the person who watches this, what do they get out of it? Because they're spending time.
Yeah.
And so like when you spend time, you need to get something back for it, you know?
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. So that's just what I always think about. Like, especially if it's a longer video, if it's 10 minutes or 12 minutes, like say we do a video when we go to a place and show this new area. I want someone, like we did a Sedona video recently. I want someone who watches that video to be able to understand what the ride's going to look like. They have a map that they can follow, so they can do a good ride. Like they know what it's going to be like already. They have a
Yeah.
goal. They have some cool sections picked out. They have some of the gnarlier sections with the little walkthrough, so they know how to approach it, where it's going to be. So like
Yeah.
when they go to Sedona and they have that trip planned, they know what to do. They know where to park. They know where to be. They know what gnarly sections are ahead. Like it just helps them have a better day.
Yeah.
So then for that 10 minutes that they get out of watching this video, like they get maybe a better experience. And that's worth it. So the next time they'll come back, you know?
I have a question about like another question on YouTube. If you had one tip for someone who's like never made a YouTube video, what would that be?
Are you the person?
Yes. I've never made a video or posted on YouTube.
I would say on YouTube, don't be surprised if your first video gets 4 views or 3 views. And don't even look at like, it's going to be really tough for you, but don't look at the measure of success as like how many views is this getting. Just think of it as practice. So it's just like when you go to the bike park and you're by yourself riding and hitting jumps, or at the skate park by yourself, like no one else is watching, right? But you're there and you're doing it. And that's what's making you better overall. So like just start making some videos. It doesn't have to be great. It could be terrible. And in 5 years, you'll look back and be like, oh, I can't believe I made that.
Yeah.
And I do that all the time with our content. Like, so after that Sea Otter, I believe that was in 2018 when I saw that, like the 2 autograph line thing. And so in 2018, I got a camera, just like a $500 Canon camera. And I just wanted to start learning how to do it. And I started making just really bad videos. And I spent a year of doing like bad videos. And some of them were like not how-tos, but like tech videos, like how to change a damper and a shock or things like this. And then I also did a couple where I would just take a microphone and interview people at the event and just say like, hey, you know, like go up to Maxima. Like, can you tell me about chain lube? Like, what chain lube should I use? Should I use wax? Or like, when do you use each one? What does this do? And those videos were kind of cool, and they would get like 1,000 views, which was good. And then it just started to kind of snowball. And by the time we got to the point where we started doing how-to videos, when that idea popped off, I already had the skill and the equipment to like execute on it. So like once one how-to video kind of went viral, then we already had all the camera equipment. I knew how to edit. I knew how to do it consistently. And I had the skill already because I spent all those hours making crappy videos no one watched.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like practice. One of the guys that I've talked to, he said, make a YouTube channel about something that's not biking and just start doing videos on that. Like you could do like water reviews. Like, oh, I like this water because it tastes this way. Or, you know, like something stupid, and just start playing around with it. Like BKXC, his first channel was sprinkler repair systems. And like, basically he was like a sprinkler repair salesman. So it's like, or something similar to that. So he just did a bunch of stuff like, here's the module you need for this sprinkler system. And then he learned YouTube and then started doing mountain bike stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just make a video.
Yeah.
Just think of an idea. It could be even 2 minutes long, and just try to make it and upload it. And then it gets technical when you start getting into like all the nitty gritty of how do you title it? How do you caption it? What tags do you use? All that stuff. But none of that matters if you're not making videos. So you need to just get in the habit of doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what kind of content has like been the most successful for you that you can make consistently? Because for me, like I've noticed when I post like a crash on like a transfer, it'll get like 40 comments and like 2,000 likes and so many views. And then I'll post like a video of like a 360 the next day and it gets like 100 likes.
Yeah. And you can't just crash all the time.
Yeah.
I would say that, man, it's tough because I think that the frequency is something you need to be realistic about. For us, doing one video a week is pretty tough. And so like we'll do one video a week or one video every other week. That's our goal usually because it takes so much time to do the one video. But if we would have posted 4 videos that week and they were all kind of crappy, maybe each one gets 2,000 views, or we spend that whole week making one video that gets 100,000 views. So it's like sometimes maybe don't focus on like, I need to post every day. Maybe take a couple days, think of a good idea, think of something that would actually resonate better. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Yeah, that does.
because the difference between like a 1 million view video and a 100,000 view video, a lot of times it's not the amount of effort that goes into it. It's just the idea. And sometimes like you just need a little bit more time or work on the idea. And like with what you're doing content wise, like, okay, posting a 360, how could you make that do better? It's like, what if someone else wants, like, what does someone get out of watching that?
I mean, they just like it. I mean, I feel like they just like it and then move on.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
how could you get them to get something out of it? Like what's something you could change on it?
Like tips, something that's helped me, and then help them apply it to their own writing maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know like how to do that and like what platform to start on because I don't see too many of that on Instagram. I feel like that's more of a YouTube thing.
Yeah.
What would you recommend, like posting tips or like a how-to video on?
I would say for that kind of content, since you said you don't see a lot of it on Instagram, that might be a good thing because you could be one of the people that does it. And so you could even film it vertically and then you could have like the titles and captions and stuff pop up and say, here's how I do it. And just do like screenshot of when you're looking, like where do you look? How does it change based on what lip you're doing? Like if it's a flat lip versus a steep lip,
Yeah.
things like that. Or even just a bike setup. Like here's 5 things that help me do 360s better. It's like airing up my tires, airing up suspension, like the shorter wheelbase, maybe not doing it on a full size bike. So stuff like that, you know, because at least when someone watches you crash, then they're kind of like, oh, or laugh or kind of like, it's just kind of, they get something out of it, like a little feeling. But sometimes when you just watch someone doing like a random trick, you're like, that was cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's crazy things. There's people doing double or triple backflips and there's all these other levels that are above that. And so it's kind of hard to get them
Like-
stoked on something that's like,
Yeah.
but it's awesome for you.
Yeah.
And it's cool if they could feel like maybe one day I could do that too.
I totally just forgot my question. I had a question.
You guys are doing a good interview though. This is going longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Is this helpful at all?
Yes, this is.
Yeah.
I've gained a lot of insight, and it's nice to get insight from someone who's like kind of made it already, and it's really helpful for me.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm hoping that there'll be kids that maybe don't have like such a strong network or don't have like parents that
Yeah.
are so supportive that could watch
Yeah.
this. And I want kids that want to make this a living. I want them to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And
Same.
it's really cool because it's such a great sport, it's such a great industry, and I feel like it's going to continue growing. And I don't know, I just think sometimes we don't foster like the younger generation. And I feel like in Boise, especially, there's so many rad kids and so many good riders that are coming up. And it's tough. Like the ones that are trying to make it with racing, I almost feel not bad for them, but I feel like that's such a hard path at the moment because there's not as many races.
Yeah,
And-
that's true. I've kind of struggled to find races like, well, not like really, but closer ones, you know, that have like a lot of recognition. I feel like so many of them are so far away.
Yeah, and I feel like what helped me with racing a lot is that when I grew up in Chico, it was about an hour and 45 minutes to North Star, which is like a big resort in Tahoe, and they had a race every weekend. And so like every weekend, I was doing like 25 races a year of just mountain bike racing and then just getting gate drops, kind of like,
Yeah.
because every time you're in the gate, you get all freaked out and then you
Yeah,
go. And
totally.
like I saw your bootleg video of when you wrecked the 2 times, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I totally remember that feeling of just like, oh, I'm so nervous. And you go and then
Yeah.
you're trying too hard and things happen. But
Yeah.
after you do that 20, 30 times a year, it just becomes a little bit like you still get the butterflies, but you get better at it, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like some of the kids that are pursuing racing now, it's going to be hard for them to get all those gate drops. And I feel like Bogus was a great addition because like the Thursday night races, that was super fun.
Yeah.
And I want to try to keep going to those and just like give the kids like a measuring stick a bit of,
Yeah.
you know, like if Caleb and those kids can start beating me, that'd be super rad. And
Yeah.
I'd be stoked on it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. I feel like with what you guys are doing, like content creation wise and with your skills and everything, I think that you guys have a really bright future as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Be cool.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Thank you for having us out here. Like,
Yeah.
this opportunity was definitely more than I thought.
Yeah, it's been super helpful. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Do
And
you
I
have
feel
any
like-
other questions that you're thinking of or?
I don't personally, but I feel like you've just done a lot for the community too. Like for like the different age groups. Like you figured out how to make how-tos for older people who like are kind of scared to get into jumping, but also like help inspire the younger generation.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping to do. Cause I feel like it's cool. I mean, when you can go ride with your dad and
Yeah.
if he can get some value out of our videos and like he gets more stoked on biking, then he takes you out biking more. And then
Yeah.
it's like, it's crazy, man. Like I feel like there's a lot of the industry that's just focused on kind of the younger shredder riders, which is awesome. But who drives that shredder rider to the bike park when they don't have a car, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, how do you get more parents and older people into it where it doesn't feel like it's just every time they go out, it's Red Bull Rampage for them,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
That's
Yeah.
true.
like going down the foothill trails at 10 miles an hour is like Rampage. And
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know. I'm excited about the technology in the industry. I think it's going to keep getting better. And with they're doing like crazy stuff like anti-lock braking and auto shifting and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I feel like that'll make it easier for people to get into it. But I don't know. Just what you guys are doing is inspiring too. It inspires me for sure. And I know it inspires April a lot too.
Yeah.
Do you have does your dad have any questions or anything?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Okay, come on over here.
So my question is, there are so many YouTubers doing crazy stunts. So if you're a trickster and, you know, the odds of you doing triples or double triples and all these knack-knacks and Supermans, if you don't think you'll ever get to that level, how do you create viewership with something unique? I mean, do you have to do things that are dumb or... You know, I mean, some people do think maybe they dress up a certain way or they're eating a hot dog while they're jumping or, you know, do you have to go to that resort or is there some other value added you can add?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's kind of interesting because like with our YouTube channel, it grew really fast, but it's also like the 10 years of work of racing and kind of the credibility that went into building that reputation and then the coaching and all that stuff. So it's like it grew fast, but it's been a long period of work, right? And I think for people that try to replicate that, if they don't have all the racing success or industry success and contacts and whatnot, it wouldn't happen as quickly, most likely. But there are some shining examples of people that I feel like are just out of the industry, came into it, love it, and created a channel. And like one of those is Rob Rides EMTB. So he does like a lot of EMTB mountain bike reviews and all this stuff. He has a great channel, and I feel like he built something really special just because he was serving a niche that no one else wanted to serve at the time, which was the e-bikes. And so he's like, I'm going to do e-bike reviews. And because he was one of the guys doing it first, it's been really successful. Now I see him getting flown around to do all these different product launches and stuff. Another good one is like Evan's MTB Saga. And so he's done a really great job as well. I feel like for him, his kind of like key was storytelling. He's a really great storyteller. And so even if you can't do like the doubles and triples and all this stuff, like crazy tricks, you can be a better storyteller than everyone. And that still takes the same amount of practice, but it's like a little easier on your body and you might be more suited to it, right? So for me, and like I try to get April to watch a lot of TED Talks on storytelling. I try to get a lot of videos on like how to edit. Casey Neistat's a good one. He has a lot of good resources on how to edit and how to capture attention and what's a good thumbnail, things like that. So if you put as much work into your YouTube channel as that person does into like learning a triple backflip, then you can also be successful. It's just like a different path, right? So it's the same amount of energy in, it's just that energy that goes in gets directed into a different thing. And so some of those guys that are doing like the crazy tricks, they don't really have the storytelling aspect. They don't know how to edit. They don't have all those pieces. So some of their channels don't even really grow that big. They're just crazy guys that do gnarly stuff. But then the ones who bring it all together, like Fabio Wibmer, Fabio has amazing cinematography, amazing writing, amazing storytelling, amazing ideas, amazing editing. He has all that together, and then he's like the biggest channel, right?
Yeah.
And then like with someone like Seth from Burn Peak, he has amazing storytelling, amazing cinematography. He has really good editing, and he has like pretty good writing. Like he's a really good writer, but he's not doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But because he has all these other boxes ticked so well, then it's a successful channel. So it's like, you know, if you have those things like great writer, great storyteller, great editor, and great filmer, if you can get like 3 of those things, you know, if you're a great writer and you have cool shots, but your story's not that good, you edit it okay, then it's like you'll be successful. So
I see.
I don't know if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense because not everybody can be the triple backflipper, but you're still passionate about the mountain biking. So, you know, how do you differentiate? Like, you know, it seems to be what you've been talking about. How do you make your story unique and get the viewership?
Yeah, and serve an audience that's being underserved. So it's like most of the biggest channels that kind of grow, they serve an audience that wasn't being spoken to first. And so like with BKXC, he does a lot of like POV GoPro videos, and he was one of the first ones to do that. So people that wanted to travel and ride and they wanted to see what an area looks like first, he's the guy. He served them really well. People like Nate Hills did something similar, but his was basically instead of like the average person who wants to go travel and ride, Nate's doing all the gnarly trails and gnarly destinations and like double black diamonds. For us, we tried to serve people that are beginners, but a little bit older, and they wanted to be talked to in a way that wasn't so like, bro, oh, that's gnarly. Like,
right.
You know, it's just, hey, here's the thought process behind what's happening. April has a female perspective and the beginner perspective where she can kind of like ask those questions that maybe a lot of times like a pro rider doesn't even think about. Like, I don't even know what you mean by how do I move my body? Like, I wouldn't even thought about it. You know, it's his second nature.
Right.
So just serving that audience is really key.
I think I have like one more question maybe. Forgot it again.
It's all those transfer crashes.
I had a question about how do you, so my like niche or whatever is editing or like edits where there's not a whole lot of talking, but I want to make it more of a story. Like, how do I turn my edits into just a bunch of clips thrown together, and how do I turn it into more of a story that someone can kind of follow the video all the way through instead of just seeing like, oh, this is just a bunch of random clips and then clicking off.
I think one thing you could do that would be really easy to incorporate is voiceover and kind of telling that story just through your own words. Like, one of the most fundamental concepts of storytelling is this idea of the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. So an example of that would be like, hey, what's up, everyone? Today we're out here at the Boise Bike Park. That's the setup. The conflict is I want to hit this double, like the new jump that I've never hit. I want to hit the whale tail, and I'm really scared. And so that's what the goal is. That's a conflict for the day or for the video. And then the resolution is like either overcoming that fear or coming to terms with the fact that you're not ready to do it yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the basic arc that most storytelling, good storytelling follows, is like setup, conflict, resolution. And if you watch reality TV, they do it all the time. Like if you watch something like The Bachelor or whatever, it's setup, so-and-so and so-and-so are together. Conflict, oh, he maybe kissed this other girl. Resolution, oh no, he didn't. Or, oh, he didn't. We're broken up now. So, and then they just keep looping that like over and over and over again, and you hook people. So if you can ever think of stuff like that, like say all your random clips, you do a quick little voiceover first or talking to the camera. You know, our goal was to come to Bogus and scout some new lines.
Yeah.
You know, we're not sure how this is going to turn out, but we have this idea to go down this gnarly hillside, and we're going to try to scuff in a trail and get some clips on it.
Yeah.
The conflict is like you trying to scuff it in, and it's like, oh, this isn't working. This is going to be sketch. I don't know if this is actually going to happen or not.
Yeah.
And then the resolution is you guys like trying to ride it, and then you have all the clips of like everyone crashing in the bushes and hitting all the berms. And So it's
Yeah.
kind of like bringing that person along. Like, here's what we're trying to do. Here's the issue we ran into. And then here's the resolution.
Yeah.
But you can look up, if you ever look up the hero's arc, that's another thing you can look up. It's called the hero's arc or hero's journey. That's a really fundamental thing in storytelling that's been told a million times over and over again. And then that setup conflict resolution is really key as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you go.
So I had a question about consistency. How is consistency in posting on like YouTube and Instagram? Like, how's that affected your success? Because you brought up Casey, that YouTuber. I used to watch him, but like I kind of just stopped watching him because he hasn't been like showing up, and he kind of just stopped posting consistently. So I feel like that may affect like how many people watch me or how many views I get.
So yeah, I think if you can, it's really important to focus on consistency. If that can be once a week or once every other week, that's really key just so people know when to look for your stuff. I think ideally once a week is great. And then if you have like a team around you and you can do 2 times a week, that's amazing. Like if you can post on Thursday and Sunday, then those are like the golden days kind of. Like Thursday you post it, you get all the traffic Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Sunday afternoon you post one and that video gets all the traffic Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then it's kind of this dual cycle. But yeah, if you can focus on once a week, just do a little story once a week. That's really important. That's how we had all of our growth. During 2020, I think we did like 14 videos in a row during the pandemic when biking was really big, and we tried to do like high quality videos, but it was so gnarly and I got so burnt out.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, we need to make this push so that sponsors will see that there's value and then they'll commit to us. And then once they committed and we had enough money to like live, then we are able to scale back a little bit and just kind of be realistic with them and say, we're going to try to do once every other week or things like that. But I don't know. It also depends too on the video. Like with Casey, for example, it's vlogs mostly. And so if you're in the habit of like, oh, every Friday I turn on, like every Friday I sit down with coffee and I watch a Casey vlog, then you want that to be consistent because it's like almost mindless.
Oh yeah.
But then if it's something where it's like a race recap or an event or a new product that launched, like you'll probably watch that regardless of the schedule because you're going to be looking for it. Like with a lot of our content, it's someone who's going to be searching, how do I jump? And they'll find it. So it's like going to always be there versus Casey's vlogs. No one's going to search like a Tuesday afternoon in New York.
Yeah.
Really, you know?
Yeah.
That's understandable.
So it's kind of important to understand that too. And there's a concept called evergreen content. And what evergreen content is basically this idea that the content you make today will be around and kind of valid forever. So a good example of evergreen content would be like how to set up your suspension. And then non-evergreen content would be like 2022 Fox 36 review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in 5 years, this video will be valid. And in 5 years, this video no one's going to look for.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something, just a thought to have in the future too.
Yeah, totally.
So if we ever get a chance, even with like a bike review, I always talk about this, but like say you're trying to do a video with like Yamaha, the motorcycle company.
Yeah.
You could do a video of like 2022 Yamaha 450F, or you could do a video called like why, like the reasoning behind Yamaha's reverse engine. And you could talk about the 450 as well, but that's also going to be a video that's going to be around for like multiple more years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you're going to spend energy on it, then you can pick and choose, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I had a question. I'm trying to remember it. I think it was like one last question. How do you get into talking to the camera when there's people around you? So like at Boise Bike Park, like if I want to make a video of me, just showing them the different stuff at Boise Bike Park, like do I just come there on a day when it's dead, or do I just kind of have to embrace it kind of thing?
Oh man, that's a tough one. It's really tough. What we usually try to do is we'll find like a little spot that's kind of hidden away. So maybe at the Boise Bike Park, that little single track trail that everyone that no one really rides, that's along the hillside.
Yeah.
Like what if you walked over there and had the bike park behind your shoulder and then you talk to the camera there and you're kind of like out of earshot versus being like in the middle of the pump track.
Yeah.
So if you are nervous or shy, a lot of times we'll try to just step away from the situation. Or that's where voiceover can come in handy. So I think a lot of people that are shy they'd rather do voiceover and just do the talking part at home and then just have B-roll shots.
Yeah.
And then basically you can add the B-roll, like, you know, oh, this last weekend I went to the Boise Bike Park. Like you write a voiceover. Last weekend I went to the Boise Bike Park and my goal was to hit the whale tail. And you show the drone shot of the Boise Bike Park and then you show the whale tail. And then, you know, you kind of show all the B-roll. And that's a little easier way too. But that requires more thought because you have to script the whole video.
Yeah.
And then figure out what shots you need. And then.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll come into like a video with a notes on my phone and it has a checklist. And then it's like, all right, I need a B-roll of the whale tail. I need a B-roll of the pump track. I need B-roll of this. So, and I'll try to have all that and then just check it as I go. And then, all right, don't forget a thumbnail. I need to get a thumbnail. This is what I'm thinking of the thumbnail.
Yeah, totally. I feel like when I make videos, I kind of just make a video that I want to do without really thinking about it. I'm just filming. And then come later, I'm editing it and I'm like, oh, dang it, I missed this or that. Or I don't have a good thumbnail. Let me just screenshot some random clip or whatever. So I feel like that's another thing that's kind of hard for me is planning it all out. And because I just want to just go there, make the video, and then come back home, and then I can deal with it kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough. It's tough to do it that way. I feel like a lot of people start out that way, and then you kind of like build the skills, and then the next step is, even if it's a rough outline, like, all right, this weekend I'm gonna go to Eagle, and I'm gonna try to hit that black line with all the wall rides. I forget what they call it now, but you know, the newer one.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm gonna try to hit all those jumps. Then at least you have that outline, and then you can kind of figure out what's the thumbnail gonna be, like what would an ideal thumbnail be, and you can at least get like, what am I gonna do? Here's the thumbnail idea, and then whatever happens that day, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Because a good example is like when April was trying to hit sage fright for the first time, we went there with an idea of, all right, she's gonna hit sage fright. I think a thumbnail would be her jumping over me in that middle gap thing.
Yeah.
That would be a good thumbnail, or something on the whale tail. So those were our two thumbnail ideas. And then it was basically like a rough outline of, we're gonna practice the first part and then work our way down the first part, practice the second part, work our way down the second part, and then try to do a full run. And we had that in mind, and then it just helped me figure out what shots to get.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Burn Peak, one of his like latest videos, I noticed his thumbnail when it first came out was different from what it is today. So do you take multiple thumbnails when shooting a video? And then if one isn't getting like enough clicks or you just don't like how it looks, you just switch it?
Yeah, for sure. And I do that. I'm really bad at that. April's probably laughing over there. We'll create a thumbnail. We'll let it go for a little bit, and then I'll like see it. A lot of times what happens is we'll do the thumbnail and the title, and then like I'll take a break, sit down, and I'll turn on the TV, and then our video will pop up as suggested on the TV. And then I'm like, oh, I hate how that looks. Like I need to change that. So then I'll go back and like change it or mess with it or adjust it. But yeah, there's been some videos too where, like, an example is our suspension setup video. That one got stuck at like 80,000 views. And it was just stuck there. It wasn't really doing anything more than that. And then we went back, changed the thumbnail, changed the title, and now it's at like 250,000 views. So there's times where I'll actually go back through old content and just redo all the thumbnails for like 5 videos.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of, as you learn and get better at YouTube, then you'll start to be like, oh, that thumbnail sucks. That's why that video did terrible. And then you try to just create a new thumbnail. And YouTube also has an editor in it. So you can actually go back and edit. And I went into a lot of the earlier videos that I'd done, and I just chopped out like huge sections of it that were worthless. And I was like, all right, that video, the intro was so long and it didn't add anything to the video. I'm just going to go in and cut it out. And so I would do that and just like re-edit some of those. And then some of those videos went from like 500 views to 1,000 views.
I'm going to have to do that because some of my videos, my older ones, I'll watch them and I'll be like, oh, this is stupid. I need to change this. And then I'm like, well, I can't now because I made all these other videos. If I delete it and re-edit it, make a new one, it's going to pop up and it's going to be just
weird.
Really weird, yeah.
Yeah, you can actually go in and use the YouTube editor, and it will actually help you at least trim stuff out.
Yeah, I have to check that out.
Yeah. So I don't know. And it helps you just kind of learn about how much better you're getting at editing. Because, I mean, if you saw an old photo like of you biking and back in the day, you're like, oh, I'm a kook. You know, it's like, I didn't feel like a kook, but I was a kook. Yeah. And that's how you, like right now, I'm sure in 2 years I'll look back on all the videos we did this year and I'll be like, these videos suck, you know, but it's, you're doing the best you can at the time.
Yeah. Just always progressing. Totally.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to change stuff then don't judge yourself too hard. It's just, it's funny when you look back and you see like, oh, I can't believe I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think I have any more questions.
I
Cool.
don't have any more questions either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having
us.
us. Yeah.
For sure. Hopefully
Really
it can
helpful.
be helpful.
Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of Groms will see this and be like, and hopefully have the same ideas as us and get something out of it.
Yeah, I hope so too. And the cool thing is it'll probably live on for a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah, sweet.
Thank you.